Welcome to the Alita Army channel. This is Radio KAOS, the voice of the Alita Army, episode 27, Motivations, Implications, and the Situation at the End of Alita Battle Angel, where we discuss all the things to do with the movie Alita Battle Angel, the source manga Gunmu, and the greatly desired sequels. I'm your host for this episode, Max Tech Jurai, and with me are the regulars, Eddie McTrigger from Florida, Paulie from South England, Odd John Hoots from Arkansas,
hey Chris,
Dennis in Germany. He's not listening just now. Star Rebellion, who might be a bit late, he'll be hanging around in the background. And our guest today, you might remember him from last week, David Birch, 1982, from Brisbane.
G'day, guys.
We've got Alita Law from California.
Hey, everyone.
And Avon from Germany.
Hello.
So we've got a very international cast today. That's terrific. So, guys, thanks for joining us. I believe you've all been on before, so I don't need to ping you for context. So I might just dive straight into the news. Now, you popped this one in here, John. So maybe you want to go on, give us a little bit of a rundown on Rose's birthday? Or he's wandered off. Perhaps not.
I might. Sorry. Yeah, I threw that in there a bit ago, but I didn't catch a lot of the stuff that was going on, frankly.
It was kind of busy.
Happy birthday.
Could you throw my share screen up, Paulie?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was Rose's birthday during the week. There was some particularly good artwork by Bo Devalita, was it?
Lou, I believe, actually.
Oh, no, it was Lou. Yes, Lou.
I'm trying to find it right now so I can put it up in the chat.
There was a lot of posts. Obviously, Rosa isn't on Twitter, so she wasn't seeing them, but some people were passing them along to her. I believe Bo's artwork was Lou's artwork was passed along to Instagram, and Rosa saw it, so she was very excited about that.
Looks pretty happy and healthy for a 35-year-old. I mean, not to say that 35 is old or anything like that.
Shush you.
I'm only 3 years older than her. It's like, wow. Now I feel inadequate.
Oh, dear.
I actually found it nice that Rosa had this one artwork. I think from what was his name again? She posted one particular artwork on her Instagram also with the cake and.
Yes,
yep, that was for the
one
birthday.
that John just found.
Yeah,
that one there.
I'm a little slow to play the game right now.
Hey, you're faster than me, man. I couldn't go searching for it, so thank you for doing that.
I tried searching Adara Victor to find her post specifically, but I searched up her name and I didn't even find it for some reason.
The fact that Sharon's in the glass container with the eyeballs on the brain is a little creepy, but
I hope Christoph Waltz sees that. I think he'd get a kick out of that.
yes, that's kind of Waltz Jr., isn't it?
A little bit.
Everybody's
A little bit
looking.
of manga eater going on there.
Yeah, exactly. Without the nose
Yeah.
and the chin. I take it you guys have seen that image of somebody drew Christoph Waltz in the shape of Ido from the manga. It was a bit
so bad.
Whew. You lose your Wheaties almost.
Oof.
So yeah, Rosa's had a birthday. Well done, Rosa. Knocked over another one. Also, other big news is the Alita trending push coming on it's a Thursday, Thursday 23rd. So this coming Thursday, 7 a.m. EST, 11 a.m. UTC. We might have a countdown timer for that somewhere. I'm not sure. I have to check, but we usually do.
I think the original tweet had a countdown link.
Yeah, it may well do. But we need to hunt that one up because that kind of gives you the sense of when you're actually supposed to start. So the angle for this trending, we're using Alita sequel again just because everybody knows Alita sequel. So try not to use it in the next week before that date. Use all the other common ones like hashtag Fallen Angel and all those other ones if you want to throw out something on Twitter. We want to try and let this one sort of die down a bit because it creates a background level that we've got to beat before it trends. So if you use this a lot during the week, then it's going to be really hard for us to trend. So please stop using hashtag Alita sequel until that time, and then it'll work a whole lot better. So when you're tweeting, we're trying to get Paramount's attention. Thanks to Emma Watts moving over there, we're hopeful that she might be able to do something to move things along for us. So at Paramount Picks, at Paramount_Kino, and that's when to use the hashtag Alita sequel in those tweets. So obviously the first hour is really important. Get onto TweetDeck, load up some tweets, have a little bit of a think about what you're going to put in your tweet. Image is always very useful to get people's attention. If you're one of those fantastic people who can make their own memes and do their own Photoshops, knock up a couple of fresh ones. They always get retweeted a lot. So see what you can come up with. And hopefully that one will go well.
Yep.
Did we have it? No, that's it for the official news. There was something else.
Patty.
There was a Cinema Blend article, wasn't there?
Yeah, I just pulled that up. You had sent it the other night, and then I wouldn't put it in the notes. For some reason, I can't open it.
In the meantime, certain someone won a certain Scribe Award. That hasn't already been mentioned.
Oh yes, God no.
Cyborg.
God, I need to pop a few of those back in here. Okay.
Wait,
yes. So let me just close that off.
He'll bring it up.
Also, I think I saw Dizzy just now, right? Would it be a thing for the end of the stream to shortly go over how to use TweetDeck for setting up things? Apparently, because
that couldn't hurt.
still,
Yeah.
IMDb threw out a random I do not stand by in the presence of evil just to get some engagement from us, and they got 85 replies, so yeah, good engagement.
Well, they got a lot more than that, but
well, 85 conversation starts. There was a lot of
the big thing with that is that there were so many people that I saw in there that I have not seen before, aside outside of the, I guess you could say, regular group that we see talking about Alita. As most of the people I've never seen before, so that's a good sign.
Okay, where's
the normies, if you will?
Where is it hiding? Good God, Pat, you do a lot of posting. Oh man, I saw it a billion times. I should really.
Oh, she won. I can't think of what the award is.
Scribe Award.
Yeah.
So Pat Cadigan, who wrote the novelization for the movie, won the Scribe Award for the movie novelization. And there was also the artist who did the cover won an award for the cover as well. I don't think that was this week, but it was mentioned in a tweet. But I can't for the life of me find the actual tweet. July 12. No, it was more recent than that. Now, seeing as we're on the subject of Pat Cadigan, I was going to leave this to the end, but I will put it in now. Next weekend is the big one, boys and girls. Pat Cadigan is gracing us with her presence. Yours truly has finally got through to her, and she's agreed to come on next weekend to talk about the novels. So, yeah, hype. Yes, I'm stupidly excited about that. She took a fair bit of convincing, but we got there in the end. So that shall be all sorts of exciting.
You gotta put your fan novel out there, my guy.
Well, I don't really want to
I know. I'm giving you a hard
put my my little bit of homework to in the same sentence as
You'll be
her professional
so,
work.
You know, I do my own stuff. Wink, wink.
Yeah, excellent.
I'm just giving you a hard time, right?
Really? Nobody does that. Okay, so this is the tweet from IMDb. This kind of gives us a little bit of hope, actually, when people like IMDb, start throwing things out there for Alita. But then again, it might have been a slow week for their Twitter, and they just wanted some engagement. So that has
probably what it was. Because they know we're going to show up.
That's right. So we did show up. Do you want to just share my screen again, Paulie? I gotta wait for the delay. So.
Could somebody real quick maybe drop the link to that one in the Hangouts, because there's been so many updates over the last week. I've probably missed a couple of things. So
Updates from which? Sorry.
The link for the IMDb tweet, I believe.
Right.
It's kind of found it interesting. There's no context at all. They start randomly talking about Alita out of the blue. It's like, oh, okay, that's nice.
Well, it always sort of gets people excited because it's like, ooh, IMDb's talking about us, and somebody else is talking about us.
Yeah.
Like, oh, is something happening, or is this just random people wanting clicks, and they know we'll click? Yeah.
Basically.
They're talking about me again, aren't they? That's a great one. That's from Dennis. So there you go.
I actually like that one. That's awesome.
So also there was now I don't know if it was this week it was announced, because these things tend to blur, but it was a recent announcement of the Tron 3 sequel. And I had a big conversation about this with John yesterday about, go back, rewind a couple of months. Everybody, well, not everybody, but there was a lot of people saying, oh, yeah, Snyder Cut, that'll never happen. And Tron 3, that'll never happen. And I'm like, okay, we're the trifecta. Come on. Come on, we're number 3 in the queue.
Tron for me was a big alert. I was kind of like, wait a minute. If Tron on all movies, then... I know.
Yeah,
I see what you're going to
I'm not expecting the same delay. No, it'll be sooner than that.
I think if a decision's made on her, it won't take that long. I'd say max probably 5 years, but that may be late. I don't know.
Hey, I can give you the link if needs. In fact, yeah, I'll just give you the link.
Yep, shoot me the link. So there's Johnny Sci-Fi's
IMDb.
But this is definitely a link that I reckon you'd want to show on your screen.
I love her pants, as weird as that sounds.
And just to give you a bit of context, it's the link because IMDb Facebook page did the exact same post, if you will. And you'll see for yourself. I won't ruin the surprise.
And here's a good quote that I could have used last week. I was so pleasantly surprised by the badassery of this movie, hoping for a sequel. Badassery. That's a good quote.
And I sent it to you on Twitter DM.
Of course you did. Okay, stop.
Well, you had it up there, so
go to here. Go to here.
Make some noise, little thing.
Oh, that's the Facebook post, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do that. Press more buttons. Get confused. It's pretty standard, isn't it?
You can stop and then reshare your screen.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Because they really don't need to see my email list. Is it done? I am confused. Oh, no, it's that one. Right. Okay, so this is the... Facebook does weird things now.
That's correct.
There's a bunch of comments. Was that 639 comments?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay,
there's
so
like
Facebook isn't dead, thankfully.
Wait, on the Elite Army Facebook page?
No, this is the IMDb Facebook post to match that tweet I just showed you.
Oh, okay.
And it's 639 posts on this particular one. It's scrolling down the right-hand side.
Oh.
there's a total of 390 original comment threads, if you want to call them that. 107 shares and 4.6k emoji reactions.
4.6k. That's insane. And it won't let me scroll anymore. It's got the yips. Okay.
Call them that.
No,
107
I
shares
been a
and
bit flaky.
4.6.
Okay, so that's that one. That's IMDb. We talked about Tron 3. I'm thinking I missed something. Does anybody else have any news?
Let's see.
There's that.
Oh, and
Cinema Blend article. That's what it was.
There are two of them. The Cinema Blend article and one by express.co.uk.
that Facebook update, which I wasn't even aware of, came courtesy of DizzzyB.
Thank you, Dizzy. You're the dude. Okay. Aussie connection. So, 8 Alita Battle Angel moments we're still marveling at. Mike Reyes? Is he our dude at Cinema Blend? I'm pretty sure he is.
I thought we had more than one.
We may do.
There is a guy by the name of Michael, though, who did reach out.
Oh, I saw this one. This is the one where if the Mercy moment never made it, I'd be filthy.
Agreed.
Ads. So many ads.
It's in there, but I won't tell you where it's listed.
Yeah, here you go. Introduces Alita to chocolate. That was a real slice of life moment. That's great. Get him on here, Max. Who are we talking? Oh, Mike Rees. Okay, yeah, sure. I'll see if I can chase him up. So I'll just backpedal a little bit to the announcement of Pat Cadigan coming on. So Pat was kind of this is the major person we want to get on the show for the first sort of round of the Alita Army live stream. So we're actually going to end our first season, as it were, with Pat Cadigan's interview next week, and then we're going to have a summer break, sort of talking to you Northern Hemisphere dudes. So we're going to have a summer break of 3 weeks and just recharge, let people wander off on their Saturdays for a little while. And then we're going to come back late August and we're going to be hitting Alita Day. We're going to be spruiking that one up. So during that 3 week break, I'm going to actually see who I can chase up and try and sign up for late August and September. So I will speak to Mike Rees if I can get a hold of him. If my DMs will actually function. You were going to say something, Eddie?
Yeah, I was going to say on the Alita Day thing, I'm 99.7% sure that I know where to send everything. I just don't want to give the address until I'm 100%. And it's not even an issue of getting into UTA. You can't get to UTA because of the virus. But I think I'm going to try Rosa Salazar, Brazil, and just tell her, look, can you check this, make sure it's the right address, and make sure Rosa knows? Because that's actually not going to be that difficult to do. And last year I didn't have that. I had to actually get into Paradigm to set it up. But Paradigm's a candy store compared to, Fort Knox, trying to get into UTA. And right now Fort Knox is closed because of the virus. So, yeah. At any rate, and me and Tony have been talking. we are going to go ahead and run with the LA Times thing that I think most of you guys know about it. I'm not going to go into it in a big detail here, but he said he'll throw up a fundraiser. I think he's just waiting for this week to clear, and we'll put something in the LA Times for it this year. And I'm going to try to get Rosa Salazar to Brazil to let her know she needs to get an hard copy of the LA Times on September 9th too. And that's it for Alita Day for now. I'll give more information next week.
So the LA Times thing is not particularly cheap, but it's scalable, isn't it?
Yes, it's scalable. Plus, I think it'll draw the funds anyway once I explain it. It's a great idea because it checks all the boxes. I mean, everybody in LA is going to see that. She'll be the envy of Hollywood for a day, you know, because whose fans do that? So, yeah, except for us. But, I mean, you know, it covers everybody. LA Times is the biggest media you could get in on the western half of the United States. New York Times, LA Times, the big newspapers. And it's going to be the entire area, full run, print and online. So that means everybody at UTA sees it, everybody at Lightstorm sees it, everybody at Disney sees it, everybody in Hollywood sees it. They're all going to see it. And so that'll be cool. It's like you know, they all heard about the banner, but this will be something every single one of them sees.
They can't really avoid it either.
No, they won't be able to avoid it. I mean, anybody out there gets the LA Times in one form or the other. And if you've got, I mean, I'm really hoping we get a half page. It's a huge ad if you get a half page. And I've already tapped Cranberry Jam, and she's on to, you know, do the art for it. And so we'll see. I'll talk more about it next week, like I said.
Cool.
Yep. God, so much awesome stuff happening, and it's getting my jollies going.
Yeah.
So again, about next week, because let's just say that Pat might get overwhelmed if we have a massive panel. So I'm limiting the numbers to 8 at a time. So Pat plus 7 others. So Cranberry's already signed up like months and months and months ago because she's absolutely smitten with the novels. She's been getting all the different language versions. She's hunting for Russian. If anybody can hook Cranberry Jam up with the Russian publication of Alita Battle Angel novelization, she'd be immensely happy. So if you happen to know of where she can get a copy of that, because obviously she doesn't speak Russian, and could point her at a website or something where she could order one, she'd be very grateful. So she's lined up to speak to Pat. I'll be on. So we have 2 other slots for internals and 2 for guests. If you are a huge fan of the novelizations and would like to get to speak to Pat, this is your opportunity. Sign up on the guest page, guest link. And the first people to fill those out, I've numbered them, will be the ones who will start. Now, if we have more than 8 who want to come on, we might do a little bit of cycling, like Den has done with his stream before, where people come on, talk for a little while, and then we cycle them out and cycle somebody else in. It won't be a super structured edition. We'll just sort of let the questions and answers go as they go. But I just don't want to have like 12 people on the stream and Pat film overloaded.
That's a good idea.
No. Let me ask you this too, pertinent question. Now, is she going to be on right at the start, or is she going to be dropping in at some point? From what I've got from her, she's going to be set up and coming in right at the beginning. Gotcha. So we may even just move the news to the end if there's any major news. Yeah, so I may stay out and pop in around 6:30 or something my time, after about an hour and a half or something. Yeah. So I'll do a bunch of juggling and see if we can move people in and out.
I'm curious about those polls.
Leave the call and new people coming in. But we're a good fandom. We can manage.
I'm curious about those skulls on the ship.
Oh yes. Well, we will also be taking questions from chat and broaching those to her as well. So Cranberry was very good at pulling questions from chat when she was on for the art stream. So I might ping her to do that. So yeah, next week should be super exciting. Of course, this week should be super exciting as well. I'm looking forward to the conversation we're about to get into. Is that the one you were talking about, John? Alita rejects Grishka's mercy?
Well, that was me, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Dave. I thought it was John.
That's all right. But yeah, that was me because, I mean, it even mentions it, but pretty much, like it, what's the word for it? It, like they realize it's a PG-13 movie with the violence and all that, and with the, the single F-bomb that they're allowed. And yeah, but they just sort of reinforce the fact that it's so well done, well timed, well everything.
Yeah, one of the most powerful PG-13 profanities ever. And as I've said previously, not in the manga, wasn't ready for it. Was like, what? So yeah, that was an enjoyable moment. So Berserker armor, offering the heart, creepy but also amusing. Surviving motorball, Battle Angel style. Yes, well, she had to beat up on them, didn't she?
How many of them? All of them.
8. And of course the final one, which is the image that I used for the poster for this week, which is of course pointing the sword, combined with the amazing soundtrack. That scene really gets you in the feels. So there's another great Cinema Blend article promoting Alita. It's good that they're still on board and they're still pumping them out. That's what we like to see. And of course, they get our clicks as well. So,
It does very well in showing it's a kind of a simple plot, but it asks you, it kind of gives the audience, what else is there?
Exactly. Don't believe the haters. Oh, and Enigma's on. Hey, Enigma. And we've got El Alito in the chat there. You should drag his butt on here again one day.
I know, right? On your Mario.
Alrighty. So that was the news. All the news that's fit to print, as they say. So going back through my many, many open tabs now. That one. Right. Okay. We've done the news. We're up to motivations, implications, and the situation at the end of Alita Battle Angel. I never found out who wrote that in the suggestion section for topic titles. Nobody owned up to it.
Is it not that the Google Docs is having some kind of backlog who is changing stuff around, because pretty much everyone can change the notes. So
this is true. I mean, I don't know whether there was a name attached to it. I moved it from the suggestion area into a topic, and that might have been where it got disconnected from a name. I don't know if I copied it or I cut and pasted it, so I might have done it myself, but I don't know who suggested it. And I did ping Twitter to see if somebody would own up to it, but there was no takers on that one. So we'll just get stuck into it. So the big question is, where does the sequel go next? Does anybody want to kick off?
I think the manga people should go first because they kind of know.
I think
just before you start, big spoiler warning here, guys. So if you
Yeah.
don't like big spoilers, maybe the news is where you finish up.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say since we're talking about stuff that's going to happen in the manga and going back to what stuff from the manga can be included in the movie, might as well put a big fat spoiler tag there.
It might be interesting to talk about scenes from the manga that how do you convert that into the movie to bring a PG-13 to it.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be fun.
So
Right.
it's like we've got brains over there. You've got brains being blown up and people getting decapitated and stuff, and then you've got like, how do you make that into a PG-13 film? I really have no clue myself.
I have a couple ideas of where this topic can lead us, which would be kind of the general themes, because you know how the Yukito Kishiro, he writes the story arcs, such as, you know, there was the Makaku story arc, or Gruishka, and then there's the Zapan story arc, Motorball, you know, there's, you know, Badlands, other ones like that. I was thinking, how do people feel about different story arcs coming into play, since the movie seemed to have left off where Alita was announced to have been joining the Champions League, and it was her first game.
I thought that was her
I do feel
last match of
no,
like
that-
the second league.
that was her joining. The commentator said she's fought up the stands and now she's ready to begin the Champions League, and then she's
That's
Going
where it differs from the manga, because in the manga she never actually joins the first league. In the manga she's going into the second league, and then she has that challenge versus Emperor Joshigan.
Yep.
So obviously motivations and implications are quite different from the end of the movie versus where they go into the
I
manga
thought
and what happens there.
I thought Hugo said that he said Vector wants you to try it for second league.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
that's what
okay.
happened.
in the movie it looks like there's a pro league and a second league.
Okay,
But
I see.
in the manga, there's third league, second league, and then first league.
Okay,
Yeah,
so-
well, they've only got 3 movies, is the way they're looking at it. I mean, you know, you got to tighten it up. That's why I don't think any characters like Hugo or Shirin or anybody are back. I think once you get your final judgment is, and then you're moving on to another story.
That's kind of where I would like to see kind of more spin-off type stuff. Like with Zapan's arc, I don't think you can really fit that into an Alita movie.
I'm
At
starting
least
to learn what we're doing.
shortening it massively ways it makes no sense and doesn't do anything, which is kind of
I think
why I may get shit for this, and I maybe blasphemy, but I would
The monkeys are ready.
kind of like a Zapan spin-off series on Disney Plus,
Yes,
like
yes.
kind of like The Mandalorian kind of was. That kind of
One thing I read in the last couple of months is also that some people would rather like to have the Zapan arc like not really included in the movie thing. But the problem is, and it's like the spoiler thing, the reason why Alita ultimately got cast out of Iron Seed was the use of the firearm against Zapan in her berserker body, and I mean, you could probably put that that particular scenario into someone else's hand and make it work that way, or I'm not quite
Or
sure.
they just use a different situation but
Yeah.
still have the firearm problem. That's what I think they're going to do. I've been leaning more to, at least recently, thinking the Japan might not even be the antagonist at all. I want to see that, but there's just so much that they have to fit that I just... Between Sarah and I can't remember his actual name. Murdoch, the dog.
McTeague.
Between all of that,
Oh, yeah.
plus the motorball stuff, there's so much to do in 3 movies. That's why I'm hoping that whatever they do with the second one, they leave it somewhat open-ended enough that if it doesn't, which I think it'll do fine, but they'll be able to greenlight far more than just a 3rd movie, and then that's a wrap. Because I don't think they're going to be able to do the series justice at all with 3 films. I just don't see that happening. There's too much to fit in.
Well, I mean, that's how Cameron conceived it. I mean, he pretty much had it in his mind as a trilogy, which means I think he's pretty much already got his blueprint of how he wants to go through it as 1, 2, 3. You know, Battle Angel. Now, he says he can stretch it out if it's successful enough, but right now, I think they'd be happy to get a trilogy.
Right.
And if it's a trilogy, then I think what you've got in the next movie is, first off, I think the actual midpoint in the trilogy is the death of Ito. You've all heard me go on about that, so that's going to be her low point. And Zapan's going to be involved with it, and they'll finish off Zapan, I believe, at the end of the 2nd movie. Screen clearly knows he's got a big part coming if it comes back. So he wants the second one. But I don't think they go into the third one. I think they'll be doing a wrap on a lot of stuff, and that it's Nova in part 3. That's where we really see Nova emerge, and it's between her and Nova. And it may be that the Joshua Gun thing actually takes a wrap at the start of the third movie.
It might. They could blend it all together in some form or another.
There's going to be overlapping.
Well, let's put combining all that together. Didn't they say he had the titles of Fallen and Avenging?
Mm-hmm.
If that's the case, then
James Cameron said the next one may be Fallen Angel, then Avenging Angel, and then other films after that. So I think he's planning more films than 3. He just hasn't really looked that far yet because he's been busy.
Right.
yeah.
I think he's got the idea for 3 films at the moment, with more to come afterwards.
That's why I think it's completely asinine when people make the argument that this movie doesn't have an ending. I'm like, well, how else do you want to end it? Because they're really, I mean, you could argue that they could have done it the same way as the OVA, where, you see Sharen's, I can't remember what was in the basket except, was it a bracelet or something? And Hugo's arm and floated out. Yeah, he could have done that. I guess it would have been an ending, but if you want to do more than just one movie, it's just too big of a series to leave it off like that. And I think they ended it pretty well.
Yeah,
it's an ending that makes you want more.
Some things ended. Sharen's story ended. Hugo's story ended. Stuff like that. But
Goriska's story ended.
Goriska,
yeah.
Goriska's definitely ended, and I think Vector's ended. I mean, they've, like I said, you've only got a trilogy, so you got to keep it rolling.
Goriska's story didn't end. He got a 2-parter, didn't he?
Yeah.
Funny.
I'm trying to get his laugh out.
Gosh.
It's not coming.
Bad early morning humour. It's not even 8 a.m. yet.
Oh God. I've always said that I would like to see.
instead of a 2-parter, it's probably dearly departed. But anyway,
I also think that the Badlands is going to be done quite differently too. I talked to Ray a little bit about that last night about Din, and actually, there's a picture. They may do that in part 3. I don't know. They could do a tease in 2. I think they'll do a tease. I think it might be I honestly think that Din, it's going to be backwards, where he's actually going to be a tool of Zalem more or less than a tool of the Badlands. I haven't quite figured all that out yet, but just his design alone, if you look at it, it's just concept art, but that doesn't look like something at Iron City to me.
Yeah.
Well, Den wasn't made in Iron City. Den was made out in the Badlands.
Well, you know what I mean.
Not
from the peasant lands.
You don't
Going
think the
off
peak level is right for that, yeah.
It just has that sleek, very pristine armor look to it. I mean, granted, Alita also found her berserker body, in the Badlands too, but I think it's a little different this time.
Building off that idea for the Badlands, I noticed that in the movie they made Koyomi, instead of a very infant baby, they made her about the same age as Alita.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering if that would be a factor that they would be able to capitalize on for any of the sequels or the trilogy, I should say.
It definitely speeds up the process.
Yeah.
Well, Koyomi wouldn't really be able to be a character. I don't think they're going to have that 10-year gap between Zapanark and Toondark.
I don't either.
They're going to just compress that because obviously they wanted to bring Koyomi's age up so she could be more involved as a sort of same level as Alita and various other people in that age bracket.
Yeah, actually, something I've never mentioned on her. Of course, her name means Kiyomi. It's calendar. It's one of the things somebody mentioned, how she's a character that kind of ages or whatever. In the motorball scrimmage, she's wearing number 16. I think that's a Sweet 16 thing. That's the age they've made her, and it's a reference to the whole calendar thing, that she's 16.
She might end up taking the place of Lou, actually. I'm kind of leaning toward that myself. Or Lao, however you say it.
I was thinking that Chirin was essentially going to be the Lou of the series because trying to go save the person who impacted her life. I mean, that's like you said. I don't know if they'll have time to invest in a character like Lou, but I would like that.
Well, yeah, I can actually see that developing yet another young woman character into the story in a single movie and making that connection fit would take a lot of crafting, and it might feel a little rushed.
Yeah.
Like people complained about the love story being rushed in ABA. So they could be looking to use Koyomi in that role, but then Lou was in Zalem. So how would you get
Right.
how would you get Koyomi to Zalem and knowledgeable enough to run a tuned station?
I think that's partly why I'm worried about Figure being introduced, because I feel that might be rushed too, and people might feel the same way. Oh, another rushed romance. She hasn't learned from the first one. I've seen some folks mention that.
It feels like to me that there's going to be a kind of men in her life theme that moves along, just like in the first movie. It concludes with Hugo, and in the second movie, and Vector, and Gruishka, and in the next movie, it's probably going to conclude Ito and Zapan. And I think she's not going to have a love interest during Fallen Angel.
I don't either.
We may see Figure 4 by the end, like that scene on the train or whatever. And that then by the end of the third movie, she's got the man in her life, finally, kind of thing. So,
yeah, I got the feeling that they'll just tease Figure 4 right at the end of the second movie. I think the second movie will end at the very start of the tuned arc where she meets Figure 4 on the train. That's my feeling. Just so that he's introduced.
Do you think that
now the manga watchers will. Sorry, Paulie, what was it?
Do you think that kind of like the last scene we would see in the second movie would be her playing the kazoo on the train kind of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
That's where I'd end it.
That would be actually a good idea.
Yeah, you have the big biffo with Zapan as the sort of climax, and then you go through the yellow door room, and then you're into the start of the tuned, and it stops on another tease. I think that this whole series is going to be tease after tease after tease.
Oh
Which is annoying.
I love it. I love it. It's like no, it says there's so much more. That's what it says. There is so much more. We want to keep this rolling.
My heart still sings when I watch the ending of the Battle Angel, and I know what's happening.
Yeah. But can you imagine sitting there in the cinema after seeing a momentous battle with Zerkapan, sorry, and then you've got Alita in the tuned body. I mean, I could just hear Den like whistling as you see her sitting there playing the harmonica. He'd be like, "Waifu!" and every time he sees it in the cinema, which will be many, many times, because I'm sure that Eddie's going to be dragging him along every second minute. But
yeah,
and you just have you'd hear Figure 4's voice. It'd be like the tease of Nova being played by
Edward Norton. Yeah,
Edward Norton. It'd be that tease. We'd find out who's going to play him in the next movie. He'd be there. The sort of it'd be drawing you towards the next movie. I think that's what they're going to do.
Voting for Jensen Ackles.
I'd like Jensen Ackles. I think he'd be good with that role.
I think he would fit better than Keanu Reeves.
Who would?
Jensen Ackles.
For Jensen Ackles.
Oh, I don't know the name.
I'd like the tie-in because, of course, he's in Dark Angel, the TV show, that Cameron did for to explore his Alita themes on TV with Jessica Alba.
Yeah,
he's in that. He's in an episode at the end of the first season, and he was so liked that they turned him into a character for the second season.
What do you think
and
about his biggest show, which is Supernatural. He's been on
Right.
for 15 years now, and they've sadly stopped it now. But he's his Dean got very dark, which is why I think he would very much fit
Yeah.
Figure 4.
Yeah.
He just played it so well.
Yeah, Dark Angel was kind of his first thing where he hit.
Yes.
Okay, where he hit for himself, and fans became aware of him. He was in an episode at the end of the first season where his character dies, but and then the next season they introduce him right away as a clone of that character because it's all genetic stuff, and then he's a character for the rest of the season because his character was so liked. He was so liked that they wrote him into the series. That's the first place he really made a big hit for himself.
Hey, here's a question that Izan's thrown up there. He needs a Last Order trilogy. Do you reckon they could get through Last Order in a trilogy? There's so much stuff in there.
That's why
I think they could.
it should be a 5-movie type thing for each, from Battle Angel to Chronicles.
I think the Last Order kind of manga would actually be done best later if this develops into a full-on franchise. Better than in a series, maybe. Probably, I don't know. I mean, of course, movies are like the better choice of all the choices given. But I think for this kind of thing, Last Order would be like a serious thing.
It would be a long series.
Oh yeah, I'd be up for it.
It'd be a hard R series too. I mean, could you imagine trying to PGify Last Order?
No.
Well,
I mean, you'd lose some of the characters straight out of there, like Rakan and Anomaly.
Oh God!
could they afford it
Jeez.
with the production
CG.
budget for the
Yeah.
CGI?
Yeah.
I mean, that's like, yes, they've pre-established some of the technology and techniques used, but
Well,
still going to be somewhat expensive.
Well, if you look
let's
at-
just say it takes them most of this coming decade to get the next 2 or next 3 Alita movies out, right? That's my hope, that they can knock that over in the next 10 years. Then it's going to be like 2030. The technology that they've Weta have used will have advanced so far in 12 years that we should be expecting it to be a lot cheaper by then.
Well, if you think they've already got like most of the Alita model, the hardest thing about the Alita model is really
Yeah.
the face. They've already got that. They just need to make the body for each of all the different bodies and stuff. So they've already got most of the elements.
Yeah,
and
well,
the fact, if you look at the new technology that was used, there was a 2016 study. It was a film. I can't remember what it's called. And mainly in Mandalorian recently, you can use this Unreal stuff to make films without actors, as it were, or any actor can be in their place.
Yeah, I'm not too fond of that.
Yeah.
So really, you can have like any setting. Instead of having all these blue and green screens, you just have your surrounding in your perfect lighting. Would have been amazing for the mobile scenes, but sadly we didn't see that.
Yeah, no, I've talked about that before. If you look at it's in a lot of ways its closest comp on that is How to Train Your Dragon, where the first one cost them like 170 million, and the next one was under 150 million, and the last one was like 135, just because they already had the Dragon factory built.
Yes.
All right, they've got the Alita factory built at this point. They've already printed the first one. When the second one goes in, there's a lot of stuff that's already done for them that they don't have to spend money on. I mean, they built Iron City, you know, they got it sitting there.
Well, it's not that. It's more, can they afford to spread it over however many seasons if they do change it to a series?
The problem is, the problem is with like Alita and stuff. I feel like the technologies, or at least currently right now, I think the CGI is too heavy for a low-budget series. It would have to be like $100 million for an entire season of like 8 to 10 episodes.
Which means that the sequels are going to be like a very key deciding factor. They have to make some serious money.
I can't see I can't see them switching to a series for the original series of Battle Angel Alita. I think they're going to want to stick with movies seeing they've started with movies. Once they've got through the 3 or maybe 4 movies, depending on how popular they get, of the original series, then it's up for grabs what they do with Last Order
That's
or
what,
Master
that's what I kind of
I
think would
think
be
Last
really,
Order.
that's
or
what I kind
whatever
of,
the hell they do.
yeah, that's what I think would be really cool is mainly stick all the movies to Alita, because you have Alita, Fallen Angel, Battle Angel, Avenging Angel, stick it all around Alita, and then if they do stay with Disney or any other, go to HBO or whatever, or Paramount, then you can have series for the different arcs that you can't put into the movie, because it's going to be too long, or you're going to shorten it where it means nothing.
Yeah.
So that's where I kind of like Zapan has another one, and then he's integrated back into the movie once the series has ended.
Like Rebels for Star Wars.
Yes.
Yep.
Or like you can
And they
kind
gotta
of
fit
say,
in
like,
all the flashback stuff.
you can kind of have like
Forgot about
the Clone Wars for Stars and stuff. It's just in between 2 and 3. You have Battle Angel, which is Episode 2 for Star Wars. Have your series for Zapan and maybe Figure 4 as well, and whom else? Or maybe even a Nova thing if they really want to tackle that. I don't think they can. And then they have that series, and then they go into Fallen Angel, or the sequel to it, which is then after the series, because your series is done, and you can develop into the movies more. And it'll basically, I think it'll bring more money to the films as well.
Well, I think that's why one of the rumors that seemed really valid to me, because it makes sense. This is the way I look at it: is the Disney looking at doing a D+ prequel? In other words, they want to continue to engage with this product. They see value in it, but they don't want to mess up and mess around with what would come after the first movie. So you go in and do prequel stuff on D+ to build audience, to build the product, audience awareness, build the product value, and then you make your move for completing the movie or movies, however many you're going to make. I don't think they can make a decision on a sequel. The reason I think it's going to be a little while is until they figure out what's going on in the theaters. I mean, we're talking about putting something on the big screen when there aren't any, especially in China. They've got to have China. And it may be a couple, 3 years before we know what's going to go on with that.
Yeah.
You got.
So this is going to be
really good point.
Yeah, this is going to be in for the long haul on trying to find out about getting the sequel, because they're really not going to decide on a sequel. I think they will decide on how many they are going to make when they decide. In other words, it won't just be, okay, let's do one more. They're either going to say, let's do 2 more, let's do 3 more, let's complete your trilogy, let's look at it this way. But they can't do any of that until they know what the situation in the theater is going to look like, and especially with China. And so that's just a big up in the air. So this is all sitting on a back burner right now. But so Disney Plus saying, we're looking at a D+ sequel, a prequel thing. That's actually a really big positive. But you're going to have to wait a while to hear about the movies.
Yeah, that's
Well,
I think might be interesting to get. That's why I always say that Fallen Angel should really be a prequel in my eyes. But
I have a slightly different opinion on. I know it's like the ideas that people are throwing out. They sound really epic, but they sound like they would be more catered to the actual hardcore fans that know a lot about the story. Whereas I'm kind of thinking if they want to hit a more general audience, they can't really jump around so far into certain plot lines, such as like the next movie. It seems like they've set it up really well in the timeline wise, similar to the manga, where Daisuke Ito wasn't in the locker room with Alita, so maybe they had a falling out. So maybe Daisuke is going to work into a storyline with Joshigon and Shimura, and then Shimura and Daisuke end up having a relationship of sort. Although I hope they make her older. And then they've also done, the movie's done a pretty good job of trying to set up motorball characters to some extent. Like you could hear some of the names. And I could easily see them doing something where Alita's doing the motorball, and while Zapan is still doing his recovery, and maybe in the intro of the movie, because it is highlighted in the last couple minutes of the movie that months have passed by, and in that period of time, Alita's moved her way up to the Champion League. So maybe that would be the same time period that Zapan's dealing with Sarah. And then it kind of kicks into the next movie where Zapan's essentially going to acquire the Berserker body and then formulate his revenge. And that could all be done by the middle of a 2-hour movie.
I'm kind of wondering if she'll give up the Berserker body in this one, because I know she does in the manga, obviously, but she was quite emphatic about this. That was her body. Like, there's no feels more her than like anything else. So
well, who's to say there's not another ship out there somewhere, or if someone's already looted the Berserker body, or that there's more than one Berserker body out there.
Oh, you mean alluding to?
Well, it's like the beginning of the manga. Ido kind of just had the Berserker body.
Yeah, this is just laying around.
Right. Yeah. One thing I'd say about the whole character and what's going to happen with Ido is, hey, look, Ido's going to die. He might as well. You've heard me say it. He might as well have been wearing a T-shirt saying so in the first movie. And one of the big differences in his character from the manga to the movie is Alita wasn't his dead cat. Okay, it was his dead daughter, and he's portrayed as a doomed, fated character that's trying to somehow find forgiveness and peace for all that. And so I think his only arc is at this point that somehow or the other he's going to have to end up giving up his life to save Alita's, the way he failed to do with his real daughter Alita, and that's how he's going to find his peace. It's one of the big cathartic releases they've set up in the first movie. So I don't think there's going to be any relationship stuff like that, because it's totally different from the manga. When they changed it from his dead cat to his dead daughter, and they made him the kind of character he is, which isn't the kind of character he was in the manga. You know, this exhausted, tired, stoic, very stoic and very cultured man, but who's exhausted with life in a lot of ways. I mean, she's momentarily given him a reason to live again, but he was just trudging along, going out at night, not knowing whether he wanted to kill all of them or just have them kill him, you know. And she's given him purpose, but his purpose is to die saving her, basically, is the way this movie's been set up.
It's like protecting
can I throw something out there? Can I throw something out there just before we move on? From that specific point, in the movie, he's involved with Alita going into Motorball, right? What other character was strongly involved with Alita in Motorball and died right in front of her?
Yeah.
Ed, right? Yeah. So if Ido stays working as Alita's tuner, then he could quite easily take Ed's position with that you know.
Oh shit! I didn't think of that. No. Oh no.
Yeah.
No.
And who's to say that won't link into the title of the movie of her being the fallen angel? Because yes, she lost her teen love, but this isn't just some like teen love we're talking about here. This is like a surrogate father. Like she's gonna go.
I've broken John. Yeah.
Dude, they can't. Nah, man. Okay, if they do that, okay, hang on now. If they do that, like what Eddie said, then they just pulled a Joel Miller on this guy. Come on, and if anyone knows what I'm talking about, you know, don't do that. Don't do that to Ido. Come on, he doesn't deserve that. I don't know. I think he'll die saving her somehow.
Yeah, that's the silver lining.
Well, that's what happens in the manga. Esdog leaps in front of her when that guy with the stupid pipe gun tries to kill her.
Yeah. Holding the ventriloquy.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I mean, I think when they had him take Ed's place, that they're going to have him take Ed's place. I mean, that's the kind of arc they got. Like I said, they finished off 3 of the men in her life in the first movie. They'll finish off not Josh again. They'll finish off Ido and Zapan in the second movie. You know.
And then the avenging angel. Well,
Nova is the ultimate target. He is the dragon that must be slain. Finish the mission. Destroy Zalem. I mean, you know, that's pretty much been telegraphed. that's what she's thinking she intends to do. In the first movie, she's called 99, but like I said, when she's writing that number on her shoulder, she sees 66. It's the second two numbers in her ID. She's 2/3 of the way to understanding who she is by the end of that movie. The next movie, she's going to drop to 33, the number of the factory. She's going to go down to that kind of moral, ethical, spiritual level. And in the last movie, she'll ascend 66 spots again and become 99. She'll know who she is. She'll fulfill her destiny.
I kind of wonder if at the end of and I know this may be a little bit because I've been watching a show that does this sort of, but okay, well, we're having a spoiler discussion. I don't care. I kind of suspect that she's going to end up dying at the end of all this. And I think part of it might actually have to do with the fact she was in stasis for so long. I've started watching Last Airbender recently, and if you know how that ends, I don't know. I kind of think that might be a. I don't know. I don't know. I can't really explain why I'm comparing the two, but I think they might pull something like that because of being in stasis for so many years that it actually might possibly cut her life short anyway, despite the fact she has that heart. So maybe she's like, well, shit, I'm going to die anyway. So I don't know. I think it'd be an interesting way to go, especially if she's saving the city below.
If they're going to tie it off after the third movie, then that's definitely a good theory. But if they want to continue afterwards, they have to not only find a way for Alita to live, but her motivation to continue living.
Well, they could pull a Last Order on us. Like the beginning, how, they think she's dead, but, not really. You had the whole weird plant egg sack thing they find her in.
Yeah,
It didn't end.
A similar way how she got was it the Imaginer's body? Like they pulled that one on her and transfer her brain again to another body, maybe through means of Nova. I don't know.
That I think they might do that, or if they really are going to cut it off with 3 movies, they do the route where she gets the flesh body finally and gets to actually have that life that she wanted all that time, but has to die at first in order to get to that point. It's almost like a redemption in a way. So,
well, if they're not
just throwing shit at the wall.
Last Order, then they could go down that route.
I'm just throwing shit at the wall. Don't mind me.
I think if she's going to get that human body, that's quite a bit further ahead in the series, though. Like the technology is pretty different.
Yeah, I don't think they could give her like a human body at the end of just 3 movies with all the stuff they have to actually cram in those 3 movies. Well, if it's just going to stay at 3 movies.
Well, for one of that's how it did end in the retconned version of the original books. So I could see them doing it. I don't know.
Maybe the technology in TIE Fairs can just do that. I mean, it could probably.
Yeah, it could be done either way.
For those that have seen the manga One Piece, if they do continue beyond the 3 movies, and if they do slay Nova, in a manner of speaking, then who's to say that using the One Piece reference as celestial dragons, who's to say that the government, if you will, of Zalem won't become the new villains of the story that continues afterwards? That's
Oh, I was going to say something about Eddie's comment about finish the mission, destroy Zalem. When you destroy Zalem, it may not be physically destroying it. It may be just cutting the head off the dragon and changing how the place operates. So
that's a good point.
I doubt she's going to bring it down because that would crush Iron City and kill all the folks down there as well.
Correct.
Well, I always had the thought, why did the other cities fall while Zalem didn't?
Apparently, in the novelization and in the extras, they were suggesting that Nova had some technologies or developed some technologies that prevented what they used to bring the other ones down from bringing Zalem.
When I had like a brainstorm of like what I would see the future being, I kind of had the idea that Nova is, funny enough, Nova is the magic that holds up Zalem. His life holds it up, which is why he's immortal and stuff. He dies, Zalem falls.
Scary thought.
Just real quick, does anyone know the anime series or the Blue Submarine #6? like the way that world is actually held up by the heart of just one person?
That sounds similar to what I'm thinking.
Yeah, because like that, if that person in that series dies, the whole world dies. So.
That just gave me a...
Like that kind of makes me think. Right, if you think the other cities failed because all the are just going for the leaders, that's why they're saying you've got to kill Zalem. He's the one who needs to die, and that's when they escalate to destroy Zalem. Destroy the ultimate target. Zalem.
That gives me a theory.
I agree with Ray that it doesn't mean necessarily. It's not. I don't think it means physically destroy Zalem. I don't really think. No. They're going to do the Hollywood ending of she meets Figure 4 and they crash Zalem into the ground. They hold their hands and go off into the sunset. And stuff like that. But the concept of Zalem, and how it operates and everything else like that. That destroy Zalem, destroy the system.
Yep.
Destroy the system. Before we move on too far, can I throw in another curveball? I love doing this. So this whole theory of destroying Nova destroys Zalem, right? Could Nova be standing in place of Melchizedek?
You mean like he's actually controlling like the entirety of Zalem, and as soon as he dies,
no, he's Melchizedek. He's not an actual person. He's the crazy AI.
So it's more like a holographic representation.
Yeah, well, I kind of wondered why he kept saying, I need Alita's heart. What if he really is the thing that's holding Zalem together? What if his body itself is actually finally fading? If he doesn't get that heart, that shit's going to come crashing to the ground.
I always came with the thought that Alita's heart, or at least herself, is like the power source of Zalem or something. After 300 years, it decided to fade out, and they decided to switch it with Gelda or Erica, probably Gelda.
That's true.
And then she'll just set aside to be repaired or charged back up, and then she was actually deposited into the waste. And that's how she fell to Iron City. That's like something I would like to see if the second movie was a prequel.
With that kind of being aware of that level of technology, why would they not have thoroughly checked Alita's carcass for the heart in the first place?
That's a good point. Unless the heart was more metaphorical, or
it could be something like the heart was supposed, instead of the heart just being alone, she kind of had to, the way it kind of recharge or something was her brain or a life or whatever. It's like Nova just holding a grudge, as it were. It's like, oh, you tried to kill me and destroy this floating city. I'm going to torture you by making you my power source for the rest of eternity.
Oh. I kind of wondered if maybe him saying I need you to bring me her heart. I kind of wondered if maybe that meant luring Hugo out into the open, but I don't know.
I actually the first time he says destroyer, he doesn't say to bring him the heart. I almost felt like in that second scene where he said, "I need you to bring her my heart." It had the same. It had the ring and even the setup of the huntsman kneeling before the evil queen, and she's telling him to go get Sleeping Beauty's heart and bring it to her, the proof of her death, and that really the whole him seeking the heart thing is not going to be a thing. That he needs it, he wants the power supply, stuff
Maybe
like that.
He wants to see if he can reverse engineer it and then create his own berserker army.
Seems to have everything under his will already. Maybe though. I don't think.
Why stop at Zalem? Why stop at Iron City?
Well, we know in the manga that the berserker cells that created the berserker body came from Venus, and they got out to Mars, and that's where Mars used the technology to make the berserker bodies for the berserker soldiers. But we also know that Nova was playing with berserker cells as well. I don't know whether he kept some from the berserker body that Zapan got into or where he got them from, but he did say that the body was created from modified berserker cells. That
Yeah,
he
And from her sword or from her blade.
I'm not sure they're going to go. I'm not sure they're going to go that far into it. It didn't seem to me like they were going to. I mean, when he says at the end, when Nova says, the pleasure you have left is watching other people die. They kind of set up who his character is in this one, which is just this manipulative, dark, murderous thing that likes to pit, the red ant and the black ant against each other in the jar and watch them fight it out to the death and stuff like that. And I still, of course, work on the theory that I think she is set there for Ito to find. Okay, and because he knows what's going to happen, he's going to put back in play, and Nova's going to get to watch that for his amusement because he's not the least bit afraid of her managing to get to him.
So far.
So far. And he's just had her on ice all these years, saving her for a rainy day. So, and under that operation, I don't think he really wants her heart. And I don't think they're going to go into a lot of that other stuff because they don't have time.
True.
Well,
going off of that idea that you just said, that kind of makes me think of Nova playing into the karma theory or his study of karmatron dynamics. Because by saving her in that way, obviously, if he wanted the power of the heart or the body or to study her for her Panzerkunst martial arts, like you said, he would have taken it. But
he would have already been able to do it. Yeah.
Right, but by leaving it there for someone else, especially Ido, who he knows is also from, the same place he is. I'm assuming. And given the movie, like there could be more for karma principles.
Right. So he knows Ito. He knows Ito's situation. He knows what Ito will do if he finds her. He knows he's going to get her put back together. He knows he's going to get to put her in play, see how she can do. He's playing a game. He's a game master.
And who's the one person that's going to be powerful enough to ruin the game for him and turn the tables?
Yeah, and that's
later.
what is in the process now of happening. He's put her in the game with no worry that she'll actually get to him. But in that scene with Vector at the end, where he's talking through Vector, like I said, it immediately hit me as it's a fatherly talk. It's, well, my girl, you certainly exceeded my expectations. Expectations? How do you have expectations?
Through testing and theories.
Yeah. If you have expectations, it means that you put this in motion and we're watching, expecting certain things to happen, and she has exceeded them.
Yeah. I could easily see that. I don't know to what extent, but he definitely has the ability to, if he wanted to Alita gone, he could weaponize the system against her, like the factory law, bounty hunters. He can make it a 24/7 constant hunt to get that heart if he really wanted it. But
and the way he talks to her, you certainly exceeded my expectations.
My girl,
killing my girl, calls her my girl. Killing my champion Grishka and turning Shirin. I didn't see that, coming or whatever. So there won't be any repercussions for what you've done this time. It's like he's talking to the kid that he turned loose into the world. And they had a party and somehow the Cadillac wound up on the roof and the other one wound up at the bottom of the swimming pool on fire. However you did that, I don't know. But you aced out all those science classes. You did great. So this time, there's not going to be any punishment. It's very much that kind of fatherly talk.
He does kind of just randomly let her go. He has her there, and he just lets her go. So why would you let her go?
Well, that could be him sort of, big talking, trying to maintain his position because he knows that all of his pieces on the chessboard have just been wiped out by a big blue glowy sword. And he doesn't have anything else in place, so he's just sort of big talking.
Kind of. But, it does strike me that what she's got is she's got the good father, she's got the bad father.
Spoiler alert, he's actually her great-great-grandfather.
What?
Luke, I am your father.
We just find out freaking Alita's a Palpatine.
That's what I was going for, but I'm not serious.
It's interesting you should say that because obviously this is going to be coming out a lot next week in the discussion about the novelization, but the novelization puts Nova on Mars while Alita is training in the zero-G bubble.
Yeah. That was really
Wow.
weird.
So an earlier version of the script had him physically there. It wasn't a hologram where Alita was told to kill this guy. He was actually there watching her train.
So was it
Which
like
is
something
really weird.
that he was on Mars watching them, they figured out he was there, they tracked him down to the moon, and then down to Zalem? So it was like Zalem was the... like the
So it could be like,
playground
you know,
for his death.
when Typhares was chasing Nova in the manga, it could be that they were working on that sort of dynamic originally. But I think they took it out in the end. So, because it was probably too confusing.
It is a little bit.
Yeah, I prefer the hologram version.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Rodriguez tweaked it very nicely. I mean, the novelization had Alita cutting a water droplet from a tap, and that has nowhere near the impact that
Right.
he does.
Yeah, exactly.
As long as Flan makes an appearance, I'll be happy.
So definitely, it has to. So basically, Rodriguez went, "Nah, that's boring as fuck. Let's turn it up to 11. Let's put the cutting the droop here and make it a tear." So she's like cutting her dreams, her teardrop dream, you know, of being with
So melodramatic, but it works.
Oh, so manga, Jesus. You know you're watching a manga adaptation when?
Yeah.
When Rodriguez is directing.
Oh yeah.
I've noticed a huge surge.
I would have never put that together.
Ever since Alita came out, I find it interesting how I won't dive into this because it's a little off topic, but how ever since that movie came out, all these directors are suddenly want to make all these anime adaptations.
Yeah. Like Ghost of the Shell comes out and everyone's like, oh yeah, it was cool. Now I'll go back to my war films and my action films. And then it comes out and they're like, fucking hell, give me Japan. Like,
Yeah,
give me the material.
I bet you they're all sort of looking at these mangas going, well, fuck, how do we make this suitable for Western audiences?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting on Promised Neverland.
That might be one of the reasons why James Cameron did Avatar instead of Alita. One, he got
Maybe.
the technology, and secondly, because he had no idea how to make it PG-13.
Well, his script was R. It's obvious from the novelization. He never. The fact that Rodriguez could come in and turn it into a pretty hard PG-13 was what got him the gig. So you know.
Yeah. If you look at a lot of James Cameron's films, like going to Titanic or something, James Cameron literally said in a Titanic documentary he was in, they said he brought a painting done by Ken Marshall of Titanic, went to the executives, said, "This ship, Romeo and Juliet," and that was it. And it raised $200 million or $150 million. He got another $50 million. And yeah, and I think he probably did the same as Avatar, because I remember James Cameron saying, I think in what was it? It might have been his Challenger Deep thing, but I doubt it. He just said that whenever he has an idea, he paints it. And he's got an old painting of something that was supposed to be in Terminator, of like blue people from the future and stuff, which eventually was the foundations for Avatar.
Well, he said he had a dream of a guy walking out of a fire, and that became Terminator 2.
Yeah.
The scene in the spillway.
Yes.
So the guy has a dream and turns it into a multi-million-dollar movie.
Exactly. It's like that'd be a cool idea. Let me quickly go get my producers and let's go to the box office and let's get the money.
Yeah. The first one was off a dream. The first one was off a dream. He talks about that he had a dream where he's being chased by a robot that was trying to kill him and he couldn't get away from it, and that's what Terminator came out of.
Yeah.
Yep. There's a skeleton standing in a fire.
I think he's got a painting of a skeleton in the fire, doesn't he? probably does. But yeah.
I had a really disturbing, but also kind of badass dream about Alita like a few weeks back. It was about the sequel. I don't know if I think I said something about that a little bit.
Did you want to expand on that, or if you can
Oh,
even
I don't remember
remember
a lot of it, but she was, you know how she has her own apartment, and I wonder if she will in the next movie, maybe not, but and she's coming back from some kind of bounty hunter whatnot, and she's just drenched in other people's blood, leaving footprints and getting it all over the sink and whatnot. I don't remember a lot of it, but I remember going into the theater and there was hardly anybody there. It was actually probably the saddest part of the whole thing. It was like February 2019, but it was part two.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Speaking of apartment, what actually happened to the entirety of 910,000 Hugo had amassed until the movie, and there was like 90,000, or how much left? What happened to the entire money stack Hugo had amassed?
Well, according to the novelization, he had it in a false bottom of his wardrobe.
Maybe Alita can go and get it, like somewhere in the sequel. Maybe
she used it to
Did
develop.
you read my Avon? I thought you read my fan novel.
Yeah, that's why I actually just mentioned that. I read your fan novel.
Right, so you're pulling from me now, right? Okay, fair enough. I can do with
it. But still, even I mean, the question could still be asked, like regardless for like fanfics or whatever. I mean, the money should still be there, so you know.
Yep. That's why I wrote that chapter.
Wonder if she's going to use that for upgrading her motorball armor. I don't know. Probably.
I'll be quiet.
Well, unless it's just like a armor or shell, if you will, the motorball body look is a lot different.
I didn't really mean armor.
According to the guys, it's a different model, so theoretically it's not the Berserker body, which tracks with the manga. But a lot of people say, well, why the hell would she give that up? There's reasons, but they're not good reasons. They're sort of emotional reasons.
I got a good damn reason. I want to see more of those plasma punches and things that we didn't get to see in the first movie.
We know that she can create plasma for the sword in the motorball body. So my feeling is that it's been reverse engineered into this one.
Yeah.
Obviously, Ido couldn't replicate the entire body or repair it because it's nanotechnology, but the plasma generator might be something he can manage. Plasma's not that complicated.
I'm surprised it's allowed.
Get a microwave.
I'm shocked that she's even allowed to use it. I figured that'd be against the rules, but oh well.
It's attached to a body. It's fine. If you shoot it out there.
Well, who cares? Vector's not in charge anymore, so he can go get.
True.
He can bugger off.
Nova got bored and he was like, all right, we're mixing up the rules, but.
Oh, and going off Eddie's theory as well, when he was mentioning Nova via Vector, and then when he talks about Ido dying and stuff like that, well, even by the end of the first movie, he says, I don't need your permission to live. Others might. What about Dr. Ido, for example?
Mm-hmm.
What about?
I think that was the dead giveaway, no pun intended.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was forced.
What about the poor nurse though? She never gets a mention.
Right? They did her so wrong. I don't.
I'd like to have a bigger part in the second movie.
She stood around, was helpful, and didn't say a word.
Hey, just it sort of can link in with the topic discussion here, but I wonder how Koyomi's going to, if she is going to be a continuing character, how she's going to react, because Hugo's not around, Tanji's not around, and well, Alita, I don't know, she's probably doesn't have too close a relationship other than being acquainted.
I think she's going to be.
Koyomi's going to be rather pissed with Alita for letting them die.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Shit, I had an idea for that actually. I was thinking that after while movie 2 is going on, the sequel, that's probably when she could be going out into the Badlands, and instead of that's when she could possibly actually be a more active member of the Barjack if she were to be a character, because at some certain point when I think it's like AR-10 is messing up the Barjack. Like Koyomi's kind of there, or actually it's a different scene. It's whenever Alita steps in to destroy Den, but then Koyomi says, "No, you can't, or else you have to kill me as well." And I just keep thinking like they have to set her. They have to be using her to set her up for a much bigger scene.
Or maybe that's how Nova comes across her.
Or Nova. That's true.
Ooh, theories.
Because if they go the route of like, how does she get up to Zalem? Well, Nova decides who gets in and who doesn't.
I had a strange thought of that. It's like, there's a mobile stadium in Zalem. If that's true or not, I'm probably going to be butchered by the manga people. But Nova arranges a champions motorball session or race with Alita and the other previous champions that can equate to Joshikan and all the others, just to see if Alita can actually take all of them. And that will be his fun for the night.
That sounds like a reverse situation of the manga where it's Joshigan against all Alita plus her 4 teammates.
Oh.
Well,
I mean, it's possible.
Yeah, I feel like in the movie they will switch that role. Alita will be the lone gun.
I could see that. Yeah.
It could be why Joshikan's not as powerful in the movie as he is in the manga.
Yeah.
Possibility. In the novelization, they say that all of the people in Zalem are also enamored with motorball, and it would be the only reason that they'd ever want to leave Zalem would be to actually go to a motorball match. So I don't think there's a motorball circuit in Zalem. That would be my feeling from that.
I feel like it'll be the Iron City one.
Or maybe Nova wants to develop his own. I don't know. To try to control the population of Zalem, or try to get power over Zalem.
Yeah.
Well, it depends. If
Hunger Games type stuff.
Jesus.
If Nova is an avatar of Melchizedek, then they've got unanimous. So, I mean, if they go down that route of brain chips, then he's already got control.
Yeah. I kind of wonder if maybe it's not the only Nova, though, because if you've seen the books, there's several Novas.
Yep.
I wonder if the Nova that you're seeing that's been communicating with Alita and that you see at the end is just the front, and then there's one crazy maniacal one that's doing all the weird, bizarre experiments, and then there's, I don't know, it could be a variety of things, but I don't think it's just one guy. There's no way that they'll skip out on that.
Well, another thing I think where they set something up in the first movie that's been skipped across. Actually, I don't know that we've ever discussed it. Is it at the point at which Shirin says, there's a chip or something in Gruishka. Somebody's riding him.
Yep.
And Nova says there's watchers all over the city, stuff like that.
Telepresence chip, she said.
Yep.
Yeah. It's like, Nova runs the city and everything's going on, but is that some sort of hint? And I'm kind of asking this. I feel like it was some sort of hint that there's some sort of resistance already going on, and that this wasn't something from Nova or from Zalem. There's some sort of chip in there where somebody else is trying to be in the game and ride Gruishka and see what he's up to, etc.
Well, my feeling was that the telepresence chip was how Nova was taking people over.
Yeah.
So the people who he was riding for his amusement had been chipped.
Well, you can take
obviously when Vector got his job, actually it says in the novel that Vector, to get his job, he had to take what was basically a chip that allowed him to unlock all the doors and walk through everywhere he wanted.
Yeah, sounds like what they're doing.
Exactly, but that part of that chip was also the telepresence thing that allowed Nova to ride him. So it's like the devil on one shoulder and the demon on the other.
Like you can kind of see.
Yeah, it makes sense. It just means that in that conversation, then that instead of Vector saying, "Yeah, that's Nova's. Don't worry about it," or something like that. He kind of gives it a brush aside answer, so maybe Sharin wasn't supposed to know about it. I don't know.
Well,
some wonder
I do think the chips are kind of just like let's say Grishka, for example, is like the horse, whilst Nova is the rider. You can kind of control the horse, but when you just let it do what it wants, it can go anywhere it wants. When you want it to go somewhere, you give it specific calls, you hit it and stuff like that, and it goes. That's like the riding and controlling, I think, reference is giving to.
But don't forget that, unless someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but Vector is still very much flesh and human during the movie. So the fact that he's got a control chip in his head, so Nova can take over him, it has a different metaphysical effect on a fully fleshed human. Because there's that one scene in the first, like when Grishka first gets his ass kicked, that he even drops down to his knees and looks like he's gonna chuck up or something, because it's easy to control a full replacement cyborg, but what about a full flesh human with the telepresence chip?
Yeah, it also just like Grishka's in pain as well. He kind of just like faints, as it were. So it's probably just like, instead of like controlling the body, it's like controlling the mind, just controlling the nerves.
Oh yeah.
So that's how he sees. Kind of, he's controlling the nerves that respond to the light from the eyes. And
I took it in a way where it's kind of interesting. Like Nova, it puts him on his knees and makes him. Vector, it puts him on his knees, makes him nauseous, stuff like that. But Grishka doesn't have a strong enough mind to almost handle it. So for him, it actually knocks him out cold.
Like, you look at how Michelle kind of acted. He kind of like went down. He looked like he just had like a massive migraine. It's like his brain was exploding or something.
But he's got a little more brain power than Grishka does. With Grishka, it flattened him entirely. Yeah, I like in that scene, because if you look in the background, there it says a voice synthesizer or something like there up on one of the screens. And if you look, it's like in crosshairs, and there's a red line and a blue line, and you can hear both their voices melding together, and you watch, and it's giving you two different voice prints.
Yeah, you can hear it too.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't notice that, surprisingly, as well. The first things I noticed about that conversation was you could hear the duality in Vector's voice.
Yeah, and you could
Not
see
so much
it.
with Vector, though. I couldn't really hear it with Grishka, but...
Is that when he goes, turns to Shaman and goes not wrong? Kind of like mid-sentence, he changes and turns around, looks at Shaman and goes, not wrong. That's where I think it is.
It's still so weird to picture Edward Norton as Nova, like, especially when you listen to interviews and listen to his voice and sounds. Like, I cannot picture this guy as Nova. I just can't. It's so weird.
I couldn't picture him as underground fighter, but he pulled it off in Fight Club.
True.
Nova has that really weird laugh in the manga, the K hey hey laugh, which might be a Japanese thing. I don't know. But it could be. Yeah, it could be that he's got some sort of high-pitched bullshit voice. We just don't know. Because he's using everybody else's voices in the first movie. So he might have sort of Saturday. We don't know.
Oh, gosh. I don't know that, right? It sounds like you could almost fit in there all yourself. That lash.
Yeah, Aussie Nova.
You are a scientist.
Hey, mate, I'm Aussie Nova. How you doing?
Start eating flan, we won't have to worry about you.
Definitely.
I'm gonna have to order this novelization now because
Your homework for this week, peeps, all of you guys on the panel and all of you guys listening, is get the novelization and read the fucking thing, please.
and that's not just
Shame on
a
me.
shameless. And that's
Yeah.
not just a shameless plug as well, because I mean, how much of the stuff in discussion of like the topic have we drawn from the novel and drawn from the manga and drawn from every other OG source material?
It shall be very interesting when the sequel comes out that we find out what we were right about. I'm very keen.
Yes.
People are going to sit in the cinema. Yeah, I knew it. I knew it. I knew it.
But well, I mean, Cameron and Rodriguez surprised us in a few points there of stuff that wasn't in the manga, like the F-bomb.
Love that.
And
Shirin.
And Shirin, yeah, well, Shirin was in the OVA. They drew a lot from the OVA. When I say they, it was mainly Cameron. He loved the OVA, apparently. So he drew a lot from that. But, you know, OVA stops where he's up to. So there won't be any drawing from that anymore. They will have to either, you know, pull a lot more from the manga, which is my feeling would be the best move, or they're going to be making some of their own stuff up.
They've already kind of set some of it up with the whole nanobot plague thing, which I actually, despite what some folks think, I actually kind of thought that was cool because Mars Chronicle, I like Mars Chronicle, but there's no way in hell that's ever going to be put on the big screen. Not with the way it's portrayed anyway.
No.
It's too graphic.
Well, the extras have already kiboshed some of what happens in Mars Chronicle. I won't spoil. But people have suggested that the extras were like something somebody threw in there just to fill it out a bit.
I think so.
And answer a few questions to stop people asking, like, why don't we know anything about this, and giving them a hard time. So whether or not those extras will stay as canon, it all depends on what happens down the road. I mean, we've got to think about Cameron's age, and he might live long enough to, you know, be around to produce sequels to the original series, but then he may not live long enough for Last Order to actually happen. So what happens to those rights once he dies?
He needs to pass it down to Robert.
I would like
either pass down to Robin, he'll be integrated into Lightstorm or something.
Or Lando.
Lando's the same age as Cameron. So.
Yeah,
Lando. Is he really? He doesn't look like it.
Not a young man.
Huh. I thought he was younger.
Well, to be fair, and this is more a compliment than anything else, I thought Max was a lot younger than when he told us his real age.
Thanks. Yes, I've been reading the manga for 25 years. That should give you a hint.
Yeah.
Yeah, James Cameron.
I've been reading it for 41 years.
James
Yeah, actually, I thought I remembered seeing one time when I was looking at it that Landau's about my age.
Yeah.
He's like 60-something. Cameron's 70.
Cameron's...
I think Landau is younger. Somebody would have to look it up, but
Cameron
I think
is Cameron's 66 this year. He's 66 this year.
Okay.
And
He's
he
66 this
is...
year.
Yeah, and Lando is 59.
That's what I thought. Landau's my age.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm 60. He's 59.
Actually, it's Lando's 60th birthday in...
That explains
5
why
days.
he's definitely retiring after Avatar.
Yeah.
He's already said that.
With that sort of money, should be able to kick on for another, 15, 20 years easily.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to have decent.
He's set for life.
Get good medical in America, so
Yeah.
they should. Be at least.
Yeah, he seems to be doing pretty good. He's still out there filming everything, jumping in their big old tanks of water. So
Yeah. He's not... Like, the thing is, Lando, he's not put down for Avatar 4, only for 3, up till 3. So if he retire after 3, I don't know. There's like a 2-year break from 3 and 4, so he may retire in that junction. But I guess it's just something they don't know his involvement in it yet.
Pooley, you seem to be pretty knowledgeable. What if he's just leaving his options open to pursue other IPs or other movies or ideas?
A lot of the films he hasn't made many films, or hasn't been involved in many, or he hasn't produced many films. He's kind of just been in like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, Titanic, Solaris, Dick Tracy I think he was also in, and Alita and Avatars. It might just be, I'm not sure. But he hasn't been in much.
I hope they at least stick around for the main Avatar sequels, Avatar Alita sequels, and maybe even pass them over to Nick or Emma. There's still options as well.
That's true.
So, yeah.
Just don't pull a Transformer on us, please.
And like if Emma and Co were instrumental in keeping it alive, and then after all this time, getting it to take off, they're almost like the perfect candidates even to pass the IP torch onto.
Yeah.
Well, it all depends on what sort of deal Cameron made with
Disney.
Yukito.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it might default back. Well,
I don't
there
know if
is
Cameron
actually-
took the rights for himself, or did he take the rights for Lightstorm?
I don't know.
Any may
That's a
know.
good question.
That's kind of how it's like when he did, gave Terminator to like whichever company does it now. He took us like Lightstorm, has the ownership of it, but the companies who produce it have the rights to advertise it and make it. Is it kind of like that, or is it just, I don't know.
It's more of that Hollywood hand-waving stuff.
Yeah.
I know
But I do know that there's been a lot of IPs recently defaulting, like 80s IPs, defaulting back to their original writers. There's some sort of clause after 25 or 30 years or something.
Disney's coming to the end of their clause for their
things dropping back to the writers, the original IP writers.
I know that for Titanic, James Cameron had to ask the salvage owners of the wreck, because he wanted to film at the wreck. Well, he made the film to go to the wreck, but when he went to the wreck, he had to ask the salvage owners to have permission to go to the wreck. But he put that permission onto Lightstorm, and not himself, which meant he can go to the ship again. And he did on two other expeditions, because he put it on top of his company instead of his personnel, which may be what he's also done with Alita. He's put the rights onto Lightstorm.
Big brain moment.
I know too much about that goddamn ship.
What else was it? Before I forget, I think someone in chat asked something specific about next week's. Is there a place where they can
Will there be a place to submit questions?
Yes, and I answered in the chat, so
Oh, okay, yeah.
I didn't want to interrupt you guys.
I've been sitting here with a little blue circle around my mouse. I can't even move it.
Speaking of people in the chat, Wilson3030 has been asking some interesting things, or bringing up some interesting things, and he's not even past the third manga book yet.
Well, unless if we got time, then we can certainly address them, because I've been sort of more absorbing what you guys have been saying and sort of lost track of chat.
So Wilson was talking about Jashigan. That's something we haven't really discussed yet. My feeling about him is that
we've got 20 minutes.
The stuff that happened pre Motorball arc, where he had the accident and his brain was dying and he had to be amped up, and Nova gave him that power, like he did with Garuska slash what's his name in the
Makaku.
Makaku, thank you. I think that's going to happen in the movie, during the second movie.
I'm not sure. It may end up getting treated like Yugo, where his backstory kind of gets dropped.
Could do. Would be a shame though, because that's.
They might mention it, verbally, but
I think that's where they dropped the ball, really. They could have used another 10 minutes of the movie, just 10 whole minutes, to put in Hugo's backstory, a bit of Makaku / Garishka's backstory, just to give them a little bit more meat. I think that would have been, and I would hope that they've learnt from that, and that they will have a little bit more meat in there for the characters that they're focusing on.
Well, I mean,
I think in the end, the only character they're focusing on is Alita. And only to the extent that it illuminates Alita does anybody get any story at all.
Right.
I mean, Ito needed to, and therefore Shirin comes into it some too. But I mean, we know nothing about Vector's backstory. We know nothing about Grishka or Hugo's. They just appear and they are who they are, and we can figure out who they are, and then they play their role and they move on. But Alita, except as that it illuminates Alita, they don't develop any of their stories.
Yeah.
Well, Grishka did get a little bit of a mention, talking about how he was forgotten down there to rot, and this is my world, or whatever.
Yeah,
Not much, but even in the manga, I mean, they did give a decent little backstory on him. But I remember one little speech bubble. He was like, "My mother flushed me down here with all the shit," or something like that. It's like,
I remember
wow, okay.
That's when I read that scene in the manga. It's like, wow, they didn't just sort of nod it to the source material. They actually borrowed not just bits and pieces, but chunks of it.
I mean, dude literally got flushed down a toilet as a baby. Like, what? I don't even. That's some dark shit.
Oh my God, what's this, India?
It seems like each of these characters kind of only had like maybe 1 or 2 minutes to get their entire backstory out.
Yeah.
Ido had his montage, his memory about his daughter. Makaku, like you said, is about flushing down the toilet. But in that little brief moment, it does do a lot of world building. Like Makaku, when he said that line, he was talking about there's worlds below worlds below worlds. And it kind of highlights, there's the Keithers, Typhairs, Scrapyard, and then
I was going to make a note about that. It always cracks me up. One of the critics, if you want to call them that, early on that I saw was when they're talking about the bad dialogue, and which some of Garishka's is pretty damn corny. But the one where he's talking about, here there are worlds above worlds above worlds, and the critic was like, huh? I'm like, because you're not paying attention. There's something above Zalem. Now, they didn't even show it, but you can see that there's a tower going up there. He's referencing, well, like what you said.
It's a biblical reference. It's also, if you've read the novelization as many times as I have, you pick up all of these links that are sort of flapping loose in the wind in the movie because there just wasn't time. In the scene where Hugo's dying in the church, in the novelization, he's looking up through the broken roof and he sees a star that's not moving.
Yeah.
It's up above and it's not moving. And he realizes as he's dying, he says, it must be the act of dying. It gives you clarity because he's realized that's not moving. That could be a space city. That is in the novelization, but it didn't make it into the movie. So it's all these little things that were planned to be in, and when they had to cut half an hour out of it, you lost it.
Yeah, I wish that movie had been 3 hours.
3 hours, 4 hours.
Jeez. On Avatar, do it.
Well, not to talk ourselves up here, but I think Leader Army in general have, done a good job of like showcasing that there's not just a fan base out there, but a growing fan base that just wants more. And the fact that we're now getting that LA Times is like, we're going through some growing pains, and sure there's going to be jealous haters out there, but we're just growing bigger and bigger. And Like, yeah, I just feel almost a little bit honored just to be a part of it all.
Paulie's flashing his space
Yep.
elevator in the
Yep, I
the
was.
hangout chat.
That's that scene I was talking about where you can see they just don't pay attention to that kind of stuff.
In the novelization, I was saying it was a column of light. It wasn't actually a physical thing, but that doesn't work. It
That's
had
kinda
to be a
weird.
It's definitely a physical thing. Hold on, I've got another
Yeah.
screenshot. It's definitely a
Yeah,
physical
I
thing.
think
It's not a
with these
beacon.
developments of movies, things they change and they come back and they flip and flop until they get to the final version. So I think that was one of those points.
And I love the way Zalem looks. Oh man, that design is just cool. I mean, there was one fella, I won't say who, but who was hardcore fan of the manga, which is fine. But he's one of the folks that hated any change at all from what the books were. And one of the biggest complaints was the design of Zalem. How it didn't look like that kind of that Death Star look that it has in the books, which I thought was kind of plain. Personally,
Yeah, unfortunately, it does have those lumps on the bottom, which were actually part of the defense system.
Yeah.
Their energy field generators. There was a particular word for it that the tech heads will know that I don't remember.
Yeah,
But,
I actually had a talk with Izan recently about those pieces. Like, I think Zalem in the movie version has these like little discs on the underside. Maybe like those are some kind of ports that can open up and release these kind of mechanisms to you. You know, the we've seen in manga with the magnetic.
towers.
Yeah, with the towers.
All right. Yeah, it makes sense. And those curving architectural struts that don't seem to have a particular purpose beyond looking impressive. They might actually be veins for that system.
That's what I think they are. I wondered that too. And I think they connect to the supply cables, don't they?
No, the supply cables run up to those towers on the corners, on the edges. This is underneath, the curving sort of Art Deco-y kind of looking support things underneath that curve down to the ejection port. I don't know what you'd call it. The thing,
Shoot.
the stuff falls out of. I'm losing my English.
I kind of wonder if the city actually moves and changes. Maybe. That'd be kind of
Oh
cool.
my god, imagine a hurricane.
Since we're talking about the design of Zalem, I noticed that this one seems kind of very flat, as in there's only one level to it, which is the top level. Whereas I was noticing in the manga, they make a really big point about highlighting how deep the city can go. Like there's hidden rooms pretty much where people can do science experiments and create monsters. Then they have like the GIB section, which no one knows about. Like essentially, like when Lou was trying to figure this all out when she was in there, and she was getting lost. Whereas the city in the movie, it looks like it's just like a city on ground level, ripped off and then just placed in the sky. But there aren't a lot of levels below it.
Yeah, the design of the manga city, the buildings sort of rise up towards the actual elevator tube.
Mm-hmm.
So it's sort of on an angle, and yeah, underneath those ones right near the tube, there would be a lot more enclosed space than is shown in this design.
Yeah.
It's like there could be a lot more of a vast opening used, but then again, I'm not sure. Maybe this city in the movie looks maybe a little bit wider or larger anyways.
It's huge.
Yeah. It looks like it's overall just a little bit bigger in general than the manga. Like
it's not too far from being the size of that big space city in Star Wars. I cannot think of what's called. I think Cloud City, something like that.
Cloud City, yeah.
Yeah, it's big.
It is big then. Yeah, okay. So they just played with the scale and scope a little bit, but yeah, I don't know. I like them both.
Still trying to work out how they had 12 of these things. I mean, the actual construction, the amount of time, the amount of effort, and the amount of materials to build one of these fucking things, let alone 12.
Well, I want to know is what Iron City looked like before, because in the flashbacks, if you look at the cable crashing down to the ground, it looks
It looks like
it
LA.
looks almost yeah, it does, and it actually looks kind of like how Zalem looks even on its elevated level.
Well,
So,
to be fair, it didn't have a giant ass cable just fall on its face.
Yeah. Collapsing a skyscraper.
Yeah.
Going towards how the resources were made or acquired for all this stuff. You know, and later on in the series, when you find out about some of the spaceships, such as the Leviathan.
oh gosh.
You know, there was like 6 of those, right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, just the scope of that one ship alone, the Leviathan 1, like that alone just is unimaginably huge. So just imagine that they had 6 total, and then
Yeah, well, that's they have the resources of the asteroid belt and moons and things like that. Once you're up in space, it's actually a lot cheaper to move things around. It's getting things into orbit, which is the expensive part. But I can understand them building 6 spaceships of that size using ore and things like that from the moon and the asteroid belts and stuff. That would be doable compared to building 12 Zalems. That is a huge undertaking.
12 Jerus.
Uh-huh. And were they connected together with an orbital ring? There's some more building that you've got to do.
What did Ito say kept Zalem up again?
Sorry?
What did Ito say that kept Zalem up? Was
engineering?
Science?
Magic.
Engineering.
Magic.
No, Alita said magic.
I really wonder how Erm lost.
I always thought that it was like literal science, like anti-gravity sort of technology.
I would just love to see
No.
like, the big twist at the end as Zalem is held up by some sort of mystical prophecy or something. Just like Leah just turns to Ida and like, I told you it was magic.
The Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Theoretically, it's all held up by centrifugal force. So the spin pulls away from the gravity and basically counters it. That's why there has to be Jeru at the top as a counterbalance. And the weight of that spinning around and trying to escape the Earth's gravity field holds it up above the Earth. It just pulls away from the gravity.
Exactly. All right, wait, we're getting off topic. Let's talk about this sequel, motivations.
So we're actually coming up to 2 hours. So what we might do is just get any final comments because we are pushing our boundary time-wise. So final comments, Alita Law on the sequel. Anything that hasn't been covered so far?
I don't know if it's something that I guess it kind of hasn't been covered, but I was put onto this idea just in the middle of this chat by a few people talking. One is if there are multiple novas, I like the concept that there could be the nova in Typhairs and also a nova in the Badlands, such as the one in the Badlands might be messing with Den, or even be the one that messes with Stepan that bring him into the series as a bit more focused on the chaos, where the one in Typhairs could be a bit more focused on order, even helping Alita. And like someone mentioned, like it could be the one connected to the Melchizedek. And I kind of could see something going off on that tangent.
So is the one in the Badlands a bad photocopy? Didn't quite get all of the...
I kind of think that it would be a good idea. Thought of like if there are multiple novas, why does he want brains of the people he admires to make more of him? So it's like it just like makes a different version of him, as it were, with different intelligence.
My feeling is that he's studying the brains to understand their karma after the fact.
I was thinking he's going to plug those brains into that giant brain matrix. You know how they're, like when the kids in Typhairs turn 16, they get a brain chip, but then the point of that is like their brains essentially become part of that supercomputer, like a neural network. And so having some brains that are not just the 16-year-old kids, but instead are brains of more intellectual.
Yeah.
Kind of like a correlation to how Aga Amadi later on in the series really wanted the brain of Destinova, or the chip, because that really helped him, become a higher consciousness of some sort.
I've wondered several times if the Nova that they're setting up is kind of a hodgepodge of the Nova we know and Aga. Kind of wonder about that.
I like that theory.
Even has an outfit that kind of looks like his, a little bit, like his little overcoat thing.
Yeah. But anyways, that's all I was bringing up. I do like the ideas that like Ed or Umba could be Daisuke, and Chirin could be Lou, or Nova could be Melchizedek. I like that way of thinking.
So many directions.
Yeah. All right. Next person.
David, do you have any final comments, discussion points about the sequel? Haven't been
Going
covered?
off the multiple Novas, what if like there's still like the one central Nova, but he's got copies of himself running around, and leading into the final comment that hasn't been discussed, maybe that's how the AR series could come into, or could be utilized in the future sequels.
Mm-hmm. Like that.
There does seem to be a lot of focus on copying and trying to have more of the same because it's good.
And cloning,
Yeah.
All those technologies that are a bit, I don't think this is quite kosher, being explored.
Yeah, because it just could be Nova trying to play God, and then maybe that's what they allude to when they say,
Well, Nova says he's immortal, so obviously he's undergone Methuselization. That's a link back to the manga. But Methuselization is a dodgy technology as well, for all of those reasons stated in the manga.
And maybe that's what Gelder refers to and says, what is it that you're not seeing?
I think that reference was to Alita putting together that Nova is writing people. I think that's where that was aimed at. So, because a lot of people have said, how did Alita know in the final scene with Vector to ask for Nova to show up? And it was Gelder hinting in her flashback to give her that idea that Nova's behind all of this, quite literally by writing people.
Yeah, and he says that, again, a way of introducing, or at least the concept of the AR series, that he could have his like various copies of various technology, like levels of technology of himself running around, and then he can use those as like human shields, roughly, metaphorically speaking.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my final take.
That's interesting.
Avon, you got a final take, a final comment or question about the sequel you'd like to put forward?
Oh, a final comment. I mean, there's like literally so much stuff we could theorize about, and like if we could go about every little thing that could come down, we would probably be going like 3 or 4 hours or even more.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, myself lacking the eloquence to express myself, I probably would need that much time. But beyond what we've already been discussing so far, I don't really have that much to add at the moment. Maybe sometime down the road in a Twitter comment or something, but
sure.
Yeah.
Well, I'm putting people on the spot here. If you don't have anything, that's fine. I mean, the discussion's been good. I've got some ideas for my fan novel, so thank you.
Nice.
Eddie, have you got a last one?
Yeah, I'll just throw out that however Cameron has envisioned handling Nova, it's interesting enough that Ed Norton decided he'd like to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, and that says a lot because he's very involved with the character and has a lot of ideas about how they need to be portrayed and stuff like that. But he kind of gets infamous for being something problematic to work with because he wants to have
the kind of input and expansion and how to play a character, and yet he took the part.
Can I don't know, have you read or heard about the details about how he got that role?
No.
Okay, so I'll run through it really quickly, and this will be my final comment. So Ed Norton was talking to Cameron and was saying, we really need to do something together. And Cameron was like, oh, I've got some parts in my sequels to Avatar. Do you want to play in that? And he went, no, not really. I don't feel like being a blue person or blue alien. And Cameron went, oh, okay, well, Rodriguez is putting that Alita thing together. We still haven't cast anybody as Nova. It's not a big part, but if there's sequels, it will get quite large. And he's like, oh, let me have a read of the character background and everything. And he liked it so much that he went, okay, I'll get on board for this. And basically, when the actors were being taken over by Nova, that was the actors playing themselves being taken over by Nova. It wasn't actually Ed Norton doing any of that. Ed Norton only did the smiley bit at the end. That's all he did. So he was on set for 4 hours.
Yeah, no. But you said just exactly what I was saying, though, was that whenever he saw how Cameron had this character drawn out, he said yes.
Well, he was told it was only a bit part in this movie, but it could be a big role in future movies, and he liked the character.
Right. So it's got to be a really interesting take.
Yeah.
Or Ed Norton would have done the same thing he did with Avatar and say, nah.
I thought he didn't want to do Avatar because he wouldn't do it if he didn't get to be one of the Na'vi. That's what I thought, but oh well.
I may be misremembering it. You might be right.
I don't know.
But basically, he didn't want to do Avatar.
Yeah, that's the kicker.
That's what I'm saying. He's real fussy and particular about his parts, and he took the part.
I think you might be right, actually. I must be misremembering it. Yeah, I think he wanted to be a blue alien and he couldn't be. I got it back the front. So, John, having jumped in there, do you have any last takes on what might be coming up in the sequel?
Oh boy, I think I've pretty much touched on just about everything for now.
You want Silver Horse Boy.
The what? Huh?
You want Silver Horse Boy, Den.
Oh yes, that you want to put that image up, or have you already?
I'd have to dig it out.
It's not too far. It's not in the. Go check the Google Hangout. I put it in there.
Isn't that another weird image?
It's the one from the art book, I think.
It's from the extras.
That one. Okay.
It's from the extras. My buddy Bradley was watching it the first time, and he was watching the extras and saw that. I have never actually seen it in the extras. I've watched all of them. I don't remember seeing that. But he took that picture, and I was like, wait a minute. Where did you find this? And I freaked out when I saw that picture. But, yeah, bring that up.
Yeah, I'm working on it. I found it.
It's so cool.
Share screen.
I think he might get introduced a little sooner than we think, or at least teased.
Okay, so there it is. That's Den. But he's not a horse dude. He's a guy riding a metal horse. So it's a bit different.
So badass.
Yeah.
I think that's actually concept art. So it may not end up being that in the final, but that's a concept. Have you thrown that one up, Paulie? Can they see it?
Yeah.
Which one?
Actually, it reminds me of like Ming Dynasty porcelain and
Shared screen.
It kind of has that like sleek, like I don't know. It just has a look of like what the underside of Zalem looks like to me. I don't know why.
Well, if they can have cyborg dogs, why not cyborg horses?
That's a good point.
They need cyborg kangaroos. I'm sorry.
Yes. Cyborg drop bears. We could go on.
Well, apparently they're doing this is a completely off-track comment, but they're doing another Tank Girl, and they have like mutant kangaroos in that. So why not?
Yeah.
So everybody's seeing Denny Boy. Okay, so that was John's last take. Paulie, what is your last take?
I'm tired.
Paulie wants to wrap it up.
He's been up since 3 a.m. yesterday.
Ouch.
I'll hijack Cooley's last comment, if I may, but
Yeah.
I'm actually sort of hesitant about even speaking about too many what ifs, because it's just getting me more and more excited about just the Alita sequel, and it's like I almost don't care what they come up with, because if they did as good a job as they did with what they did, because I still stand by my statement, there is no better live action adaptation. Like, you look at Dragon Ball, The Last Airbender. You look at all the ones that haven't had such a large international audience. Like, they made a live action Full Metal Alchemist and all this other stuff, and all of that just pales in comparison to Alita. And I'm thinking, well, it's been a fun 2 hours, but almost kind of want to just leave it there and dream a little dream.
You mean you want to leave it there with the movie we got now, and then just don't bother?
Oh no, like
oh.
Not discuss too many. Just let our imagination stew on what's already been discussed, and
just let us be surprised. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So you still got that little bit of element of surprise, like you said.
So I have 2 things to add before I wrap up. The first one is that the only person besides David, who is here now, who commented on the question for this week, which was, where do you think the Alita Battle Angel movieverse should go next, was Foxfire, who said should cover more of the Motorball arc and face off Alita versus Jushikan. So he's invested in finishing the Motorball arc, which is fair call. I'll also mention in the text chat that David Stack has got a fan fiction that he did. So David, if you give us the link to that, we'll advertise that for you.
I was just reading his comment on that. It's funny.
Oh, I love fan fictions.
I wonder how deep it is. Oh
I don't know.
no. Marriage? Oh no.
Whose house
no.
down?
Who's? Yeah, I'm about to say, what's the alien hybrid screaming in the background?
Children.
Okay, you have one take, I have another. Fair enough. Okay, so next week's question is questions for Pat Gadigan, author of Alita Battle Angel movie novelization and the prequel novel Iron City. Now, your homework is to read the novelization if you can. Extra credit if you've read the prequel novel Iron City, both of which will be discussed next week. So on that point, we hope you can catch the next stream, which will be our big final for the season, which is movie Alitaverse novels discussion with Pat Cadigan. I am super excited. And if anybody wants to get in on that one, get into the sign-up sheet and sign up real quick, because there's only a limited number of spots for that one. But if we get a lot of people who are interested, we might try and cycle guests and really bamboozle Pat with huge numbers of people, but not all at once. Okay, so don't miss that one. That's on the 25th. Tell your friends. There'll be posters and all sorts of advertising. So we'll make sure we get a big crowd in to listen to Pat. And this week, thanks for coming on, Alita Law, David Birch, and Avon. It was great to hear your takes on what should be in the sequel, and looking forward to pinching a whole bunch of your ideas from my fanfiction.
I want credit.
So thanks for doing that. If you guys want to come on, next week will be a fairly big one. Then we're going to have a 3-week break, and then we're going to have more episodes coming up at the end of August. The first one will probably focus on Alita Day, plus other bits and bobs that have happened during the 3-week layover. And then we'll be getting back into our usual topics. There's one there actually from... Oh, wrong document. I got so many documents. So early September probably will be who are we and how did we come to enjoy Battle Angel Alita, the manga, which was proposed by Radio KAOS. So we'll be getting him on and we'll be talking manga in that one. So that should be interesting. So do look forward to that. So remember, everybody, we put this on for you guys. You're part of the Alita Army. This is for you. This channel is yours. If you want to come on and do your own topic, or you want to join into a topic that we're listing, please sign up. We'd love to have new people on and get their takes, because everybody has an original take, which we find exciting and interesting, and we want to hear from you. So thank you for joining us. You make this fandom special. And as we like to say at the end of every stream, if you can find them, because they're a little bit hen's teethy at the moment, 3, 2, 1.
By the
Blu-ray, baby.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, and catch you next week for the big one. Bye for now.
You know, back when I was in the academy, we would follow every toast with a song. It's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. Come cheer up, my lads, come cheer up, my lads. 'Tis better to have loved and lost. 'Tis better to have loved and lost. Captain Jean-Luc Picard, than never to have loved at all. To the Federation starship, come cheer up, my lads, come cheer up, my lads. 'Tis better to have loved and lost. Captain Jean-Luc Picard.
17347321476 Charlie 327897777643 Tango 732 Victor 73117887324767897643676
Lock. When I have plucked the rose,
Earl Grey hot.
longing still for that which longer nurseth the disease. In faith, I do not love thee. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? When I have plucked the rose, longing still for that which longer nurseth the disease. In faith, I do not love thee. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? 'Tis better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. Come cheer up, my lads, come cheer up, my lads. 'Tis better to have loved and lost